I'm integrating the land in my work. So I'm both hunter-gatherer, I gather things from around me, and I'm also, in spirit, I think, kind of a 19th century plein air painter. So I'm both quite ancient and modern. Well, not that modern, actually. And the way that I am with the land is that, if I can sort of describe it with a sense of belonging between the air element and the ground element, and sort of existing within that kind of, it feels to me anyway like a vertical space that I'm inhabiting with one of my axes, and it goes right down into the earth, and it goes right down into my ancestry, and it goes right up. So here I am in this sort of space, and then I open my arms, and I've got an axis of chronos, of tick-tock time that's ticking through. And I think it's going in this direction. I'm not sure quite, but anyway, tick-tock is the time. And I work from this space here. I work from this space where we have this meeting of the two axes, the foundational relationship with being alive in the world, and with my life and with my death. Not in a miserable way, like you were saying earlier. It is the case.
That's all.
And when I'm working, I'm absolutely at home. And the chronos that ticks through broadens out into a three-dimensional space. And I move within it freely, and I'm completely outside of time. And I'm at one with the other than human constellation of life that's happening around me, and I become part of it. I take as little as possible of my own kit into the landscape with me, and by taking less of my own kit, I become much more open to the land to speak to me, and to suggest, and to offer things. And increasingly, I relinquish control, and I listen, and I set aside time to be with a place, and I remain in the place for, say, a week, or a month, or even a day. But I open up, and this is the sort of feeling I do. I kind of draw back my curtains, and I become available. And I become curious. And there's a reciprocity. It's not just me taking from, it's a conversation. And this is, I'd like to just briefly describe the story of these two paintings. We've got the dark and we've got the light. And it's not, I'm not in an airy-fairy sort of optimistic, I am a praise poet, I think, but I'm not wanting to be merry with it. There is shadow, there is darkness, and I started this painting in the depth of January, dark. And I was waiting to go to Corfe Castle to spend 6 days in a valley just with East Hill. These are both East Hill in front of me. And in anticipation, because I anticipate my trips, I anticipate my time with the landscape. So I washed the paper with phthalo blue and a rather sort of wintry, tired grass kind of yellowy colour. Let it dry. Went to the site, and the invitation to me on that occasion was to offer the paper to a bog. So I buried the paper under the water, under the mud, and left it there until I returned for my 6 days of being with this place. I stayed in the village. I opened each day with the dawn. I closed each day with the setting sun. And when I lifted the paper up, the mud had creatures in it. And the creatures began to meander around the paper and drew their most beautiful marks and left their marks in the surface of the paper. That's the gift. So receiving that gift, I let it rest. And then I was around a fire bowl a couple of days later. There was a blacksmith on the site who was very good at making fires. And the moon rose above East Hill. So then the moon came in, and I'd already gathered a pot of Purbeck limestone dust. So the dust from the quarry over the hill became my moonlight. I didn't set out to paint a moon painting. I set out to seek a conversation with the place. A few months later, went back to the same valley, East Hill, and it was molehills that greeted me, and clay from the side of the stream at the bottom of the valley. So I made those into my paint. I mixed them with my own pigments. And then the sun rose, blasted over the hill, and that became my picture. And I suddenly thought, Tangerine Dream, which is the title of the picture. But as a teenager, one of my first jobs was driving an ice cream van. And I used to sell, or rather eat most of it, a tangerine-coloured ice cream, which was utterly delicious. I mean, beyond words delicious. So that became the title of the painting. And I'm sorry to tell you that the chimes that our ice cream van proclaimed in the East Anglian Fens was Clementine,